The Transport Summit is taking place under the theme Accessible Transport for All. President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the keynote address. Newzroom Afrika's Zola Sholwana is standing by with Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga. Zola, over to you. Tell us why the government decided it was necessary to host this summit. You're with the minister as we speak.
Well, Mr. Chaba, what I can tell you is that obviously the issue of accessibility of transport to those living with a disability has been a long-standing issue that has to be evaluated, looking at different sectors, aviation, land transport, and all kinds of transport. Now, the question that will be asked today is that when you're looking at different modes of transport and their facilities, do they have someone that has disability challenges, in mind? And obviously the minister will be responding to that. We will have different sectors, presenting what they have in terms of how far the country has come in terms of including those that, have a disability. Minister, thank you very much for your time. Of course, today's engagement is ensuring that people living with disabilities are also included in your transport facilities. How far has South Africa gone when it comes to that?
We have tried our level best to move towards ensuring the universal accessibility of transport in South Africa. We're not there yet. We conducted a survey as the Department of Transport, and people with disabilities raised quite a number of issues, a myriad of them, and that is why we have the summit. But I must also state that it was the President himself, President Ramaphosa, who in 2022 committed in us hosting this summit so that we meet with the stakeholders, but of course the people with disabilities themselves, telling us as to what it is that we have done so far and what it is that they think we need to do. And the summit actually highlighted quite a number of challenges, and you will understand if many of them will relate to the taxi industry, because in any event 70% of South Africans choose a taxi as their a preferred mode of transport. So yes, quite a number of them were about that. And if you look at that, and that is why in this summit we have invited all stakeholders, including the manufacturers, so that as they manufacture the taxis, as they manufacture everything, we are also manufacturing trains, you are aware. We take into account all those issues so that it is possible for people with disabilities to access our transportation. So the issues that we're looking at will be enabling environment, and that will talk to our policies, our legislations that we formulate. That must actually make anyone who is providing transport, particularly public transport. It may be in the form of road transport, as you have indicated. It may be in the rail transport. It may be in the aviation. It may be anyway. If you're providing a transport for payment, then of course you've got to meet those requirements. We also are saying ours should be, we look at the processes that we follow, the systems that we put in place. They should also be very accessible to our people. We talk about the transport buildings, we talk about the infrastructure and facilities that we have where people are able to catch transport. It also has to be friendly to people with disabilities and what it is that we think we can do, the vehicles themselves. And one other challenge that you'll have is that I'm talking about, let me say, for instance, the taxi industry, the aircrafts themselves, they are owned privately. And sometimes as you add these features, the cost goes up. And therefore you find that people prefer to buy those without some of the features. But I think we should find a way of ensuring that people do consider these features as and when they buy. And that is why I said the enabling environment might include legislations and policies. But also the issues of accessibility and transformation, work accessibility. Because even at work, for instance, for them to reach their workplaces, sometimes it's very difficult. For them to know what is happening in the surrounding. There are no braille whatever. The font are too small, even for those that are partially blind. I'm making an example. So it's quite a number of things that we think we need to do, that we are aware having tried our level best. If you look at the trains, for instance, the train, the step into the train and the platform should be flat, should be on an equal basis, at the same level, so that if it is a wheelchair, you just push it into the train. But sometimes it's not the case. But that is what we're moving towards as the Department of Transport, because we had the platforms that were old, I'm making an example, and we're making the new beautiful trains, and the spec may not be the same. And it means that as we move forward, we'll then have to rise and to elevate those platforms so that they are aligned with the steps into the train.
Speaking about moving forward, Minister, let's talk about the role of technology in enhancing accessibility and safety of transport services, especially for people living with disability.
Indeed, technology will be very important for all of us, including people living with disabilities, and that is why we talk of smart vehicles, for instance, that are able to lean down and to drop and so on, so that they can accommodate the people living with disabilities. Same thing with our trains, even aircrafts for that matter. So yes, we're talking about smart this, smart that, and that should also take into consideration our people living with disabilities. Like I'm saying, we have tried, but we're definitely not there as yet.
Thank you very much for your time, Minister. Well, the Minister, Masechaba, was essentially saying that the Department of Transport and the relevant stakeholders have been trying, in South Africa, but so much needs to be done. And obviously, when it comes to implementation of policies and changes and upgrading their systems, those conversations will be facilitated today, where everyone is involved, including those that are the most challenged, which are people that are living with disability. As you might have heard earlier on when I was engaging with one of them, she spoke about the issue of accessibility for those that are living with disability. Back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Zola. And that was Zola Sholwana, who is a Newzroom Afrika reporter, coming to us live from Boksburg in Ekurhuleni, where the Transport Summit is taking place. Her there talking to the Minister of Transport, Ms. Sindisiwe Chikunga.